Life happens for you, not to you.
Discipline will fail. Reasons will never fail you.
Gosh, I love serving people. I love making a difference in some other person's life.
Our obsessions become our possessions. My dad was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
My dad's my best friend, but he's been sober now 30. In fact, he just got like a cake at one of his meetings a couple weeks ago, but he's been sober over 30 years. But while I was in the house, a lot of chaos, man, a lot of stress. My dad was an alcoholic and I think drug addict too for a while, and just stress constantly. You know, is he coming home? Is he not coming home? You know, a lot of people relate to that. If he comes home, which version am I getting? Is he mad? Is he drunk?
That's a real one.
You know, and I remember every day my dad would walk in the door. I just thought it was normal. My dad would walk in, take his suit coat off, walk over to the liquor cabinet, pour Beefeater's gin into a glass, drink the whole damn glass, pour another glass in, drink another glass, pour another glass, drink another glass, and then like, hey kids, I'm home.
That was the routine.
That was on the good days. You know, everybody has some weird shit in their family. There's something, whether it's a crazy relative or whatever. Mine was that kind of dysfunction. So it was not the best place in the world, but it was loving. Literally, as a little boy, I remember thinking, I want to make them proud of me. If I do well, maybe my dad will stop drinking. The times I'd see my dad happy is when I hit a home run or I brought home an A. So I started linking achieving to making them happy to things getting better, right? So almost always in life, it's not the event that happens to you, it's the meaning you take from the event, right? So, and I have this big overriding theory that sounds corny, but like, I promise you it works. Life happens for you, not to you. And that's always true in hindsight. You look back at anything in your life that was really difficult, man, in hindsight, you're like, man, that was actually kind of good because it made me do this, or I dropped them out of my life, or we moved here, and that led to this and this and that and the other thing. The key thing to being happy and productive is being able to see that as it's happening. When you realize things in your life happen for you, truly, especially in hindsight. Everybody knows it in hindsight, right? If you look back at any disaster, tragedy, most people look back 5-10 years later, they go, that happened for me. That was actually a good thing. And so I was unemployed. I couldn't find a job. And my old man, my dad, was the best dad role model you could ever have in your life. Hardworking man, good man. He's a better man than me. Has more integrity than me. He's the best man I've ever known. But when I was growing up, my dad had a drinking problem. And so my dad had gotten sober recently. And he was going to these meetings. And he comes home from one of his meetings and says, there's a guy at my meeting who can get you a job. And it's right down the street in San Dimas. You're going to be working with kids. Doesn't pay anything at $6 an hour, but you're going to get this damn job. So show up there tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Ask for Tim. So I drive down there. It's a place called McKinley Home for Boys. Little did I know that would alter my entire life. That was the most significant thing that happened to me. And so I walk in there. I said, I'm Ed Milet. I'm here for the job. They're like, what job? I'm like, I don't know. Just my dad told me to show up here. And I need to ask for Tim. They're like, we have no idea who the hell Tim is. What's his last name? I said, I don't know his last name. And they're like, so you showed up for a job that you don't know what it is and you don't know who it is that's hiring you. I'm like, here's what I know. He's an alcoholic. I'm like, oh, Tim. Yeah, we know that Tim. And so they bring me to the guy and he says, you're hired. Let's go. Like literally shakes my hand and you're hired. And he introduces me to these 8 boys that were my boys. They were 7, 8, and 9 years old. And basically I lived with these boys, these precious boys. And we ended up adding a few more. My boys were all wards of the court. They were all molested by family or parents were in prison. And so they had no family. And so my whole life changed. All of a sudden, I'm this 22-year-old guy. These guys become my sons. I lived with them. It altered me completely. Like what I wanted to do. I always wanted to be famous and rich and successful. And now I just wanted to serve. I wanted to help. Little did I find out I could get rich and famous and all that other stuff I thought I wanted through serving people, right? And so just altered me, man. We really do acquire what we're most obsessed with. So if you're obsessed with your worries and your stresses and your problems, you will find a freaking way to obsess on them and you'll eventually possess them. Same with the things you want. People think that's corny, but I'll give you an example. An addict. Addicts take all different kinds of forms, but we could go out on the street here. And by the way, I want to make sure that people understand this. Not everybody that lives on the street is an addict. They've got mental illness or some people actually chosen to live there. But if we found an addict that was living on the street, no job, no income, no source of money, they find a way to get their drug. don't they? You find a way. If you're obsessed with something enough, regardless of the conditions, and addicts are the perfect example. They can have no money, no resources, been locked up before. Everyone knows they're trying to get it. They could be in support me, but if they want that drug bad enough with no resources, no nothing, they find a way to get it. That's how humans are when they get obsessed with something. So don't tell me you can't win. Don't tell me you can't build your company. You can't get the person you want or the money you want. If you want it like an addict, bad analogy, but true. You want it like an addict needs their fix. You'll find a way to get it. That's how human beings are.
I was an out of control person back in those days, meaning this. I woke up worried, stressed, fearful, and I immediately start thinking about a bill I had to pay, something that was wrong. And I'm in a state of reaction to begin I'm talking within 6 minutes of waking up, 6 seconds. Most people listening to this, that's what they do. I said, I got to grab control of my morning, and I set up routines in my morning. Maybe they served me, maybe they didn't, but they were things I could deliver on doing for myself. And so not only did that give me control over the day, but I started to stack my self-confidence too.
Eventually get out of everything, eventually what you think you're worth. That is a fact, okay, as a fact. And so where you are right now, it's hard to accept this, but it's what you think you're worth. And the more and more you start putting in the effort, start keeping promises you make to yourself, and you do it long term, man. You don't have a 1 week track record with you, but you got a 3 year, a 5 year track record with you. You are going to start to get what you think you're worth. You're going to start to get what you deserve.
Ironically, my dad's alcohol abuse when I was a kid happened for me because I could relate to dysfunctional families. Not to the extent of theirs, but I understood what it was like to live in stress as a little child.
Yeah, and you knew what they were feeling. You knew the inner dialogue in their mind, and so you could cater help to that same voice.
I knew some of it, yeah. And so I was born for that. He prepared me for that, right? He's always preparing you for the next step if you'll just look for it. And so what ended up happening was I fell in love. Something transferred. I went from this cocky, ego-driven athlete, which I don't know that you ever shake completely, right? But I went from not being about me. I was like, oh my gosh, I love serving people. I love making a difference in some other person's life, these little guys' lives, some of which are still in my life to this day. And so all of a sudden I went, oh, what I'm gonna do somehow with my life is going to somehow involve helping other people.
Discipline will fail. Reasons will never fail you. When you have big goals, the mistake people make is they think, oh, these freaks, this Alex Rodriguez, this Milet guy, whatever, we're these freaks of discipline. No, I have massive reasons attached to all of my goals that compel me to take action when I don't feel like it, okay? Because I'm naturally a lazy dude. I like Cheetos. I like the couch. I like naps. I like sleeping, right? I have to override the real me with massive reasons. The heart issue, my daughter, all of that were my reasons.
All of a sudden, now that gratitude was important to me, serving people, number 2, was important to me. Now I'm seeing all these places to be grateful for and people that I could serve, because prior to that, it wasn't important to me. What was important to me was I was broke. So I'd see more of it. What was important to me is how starving I was. I'd see more of it. People were taking advantage of me. People were letting me down. So I'd see more of them. People think this is like mumbo jumbo, corny shit. Forget it. It's not even mindset. It's actually how your brain's designed. So if someone tells you that's positive thinking, they're wrong. This is actually the design of your brain. So why not take control of that and start to push into yourself that what's important to you? And the more you repeat a thought, repeat a vision, the more that RAS goes, ooh, red Corvettes. And it starts to see them, sees opportunities, sees good people, sees resources, sees all these different blessings for you because you've programmed it. That's why you really do get what you see. Like if you really do, people think people suck and they take advantage of you, that part of the world is revealed to you over and over and over again. It's a freaking fact. That's why when you get to the other side, like neither you nor me feel like we're on the other side yet, but other people think we are.
So identity is the governor on our lives. It's the invisible force that no one understands, and once they do understand and get a hold of it, their life can change. And so not only if you don't get a hold of this, will these outward conditions of your life keep being exactly the same, but you could behave differently, you could do all the work out, you could be thinking great thoughts, but you are going to get out of your life. You're going to be the most powerful force in the world, I think, is to be consistent with the concepts, ideas, and worth that you hold for yourself. You will get that out of your life, what you will tolerate. Okay. The deeper part of that is identity. And so identity is very much like a thermostat sitting on a wall, right? This is important. Once that temperature is set at a certain degree, everything in the world externally can hit it, and you will find a way to get that temperature. So even in this house, let's say it's set at 80 degrees. If we opened up all the doors and cold air, just the worst things in life, the blizzard of life came in, the thermostat will kick the heater on and it will regulate this room back to 80 degrees. The reverse is also true. It's a super hot day. Great things are happening in your life. It's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. If you're at 80 degrees, that internal thermostat will find a way over a window of time to cool your life right back down to 80 degrees again. So the key, the secret key, is to be able to shift that identity. 90, 100, 120.
You know, when I was growing up in the projects, I never imagined that I'd be running a large global $100+ million corporation. But I knew for a fact that I was going to be extremely successful. And that's where it comes back to belief. It's not a surprise to me. It's not, I woke up one day and I'm pinching myself. These are things that I've always believed. These are things that I've always said to myself. You know, my mother, she used to always tell me that this mole that I have on my hand, it was designed for one purpose. And she used to tell me that ever since I've been 5 years old. She says, one day you're going to be a successful business person. And so I believed it. And she used to also tell me, she said, son, listen, God put you on earth for two reasons: to be a leader and a provider. And every time I would get in trouble, and every time I'd do something bad, instead of always getting a spanking, and I got my share of spankings, it was always reinforced with, you shouldn't do that. Remember, you're here to be a leader and a provider. And so that affirmation, it just stuck with me. And so when I became an adult, it was so ingrained in my subconscious that I had to act out what she had programmed me with. And so that's why I certainly believe that if you believe things and if you repeat them over and over, you can achieve them.
The job of a mother is to protect the kid, okay? And I'm like, no, I'm gonna be famous one day. The mother says, don't talk to strangers. I wanna talk to everybody. I watch my dad talk to everybody. I wanna have friends all over the world. My mom's like, no. Don't get too much attention. Too much attention could get us in trouble. I wanted to be famous. Be satisfied with what you have, Grant. I'm like, no, I wanna be a star. I wanna be rich, Mom. I'm gonna be rich one day. See, when you're 10 years old, 15 years old, you're taking in information. I'm watching James Bond. I'm like, that's the guy I want to be. I'm watching the gangster. He's got control. That's the guy I want to be. And in our society, you can't tell people you want to be James Bond. You can't tell people you want to be rich. You can't tell people you want to be the next Bono. You can't tell people you want your face on the side of a bus or on a billboard. Because they're like, what are you talking about, man? Be happy that you have good health. Be happy that your family loves you. I have two beautiful kids today, two beautiful kids and a wife, okay? And my wife understands that I would not be satisfied with just a great marriage and two beautiful kids. You can't tell people that. Someone will hear me say that and say, dude, be grateful for what you have. You have health, good health. You're not using drugs today. You got a beautiful wife and two beautiful kids. It's not enough for me. It has never been enough for me. In our society, we cannot tell people, I want more. I've always wanted 10 times more. And I want you to have 10 times more. Because what's going to happen is some of what you have is going to be taken away from you. This planet, the planet we live on, takes things from people. Things go away. Cycles end. Money moves. Okay? Health leaves you. Age happens. Things change. I watch entire industries get destroyed. The great companies have a life of about 50 or 60 years. They go away. That lifespan might start changing to 20 or 30 years or 10 years. Entire industries get wiped out because people underestimate what it takes to be successful, what it takes to take care of their family. See, this is what I learned when I was 10 years old. My dad worked every day to take care of his family. Good family, middle-class family. Had a house, had the food, had a little bit of life insurance money. It wasn't enough. If it was enough, why did my mom have to sell the dream house the next day? Why was my mom terrified when she should have been having grief? She couldn't. She was instilled with fear. How am I going to take care of 5 kids? How am I going to put 5 kids through school? This is what our culture is dealing with today. People that are scared. 76% of all Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because they didn't think about it. I need to multiply everything I think I need 10 times.
I'm gonna get right into this. I'm out here boxing, I'm out here getting it in. I'm out here putting in the work, you see it. I'm tired, I'm lightheaded right now. I want to call Earl, which means throw up, but I knew I had to get this message to you. While I was fighting, when I was boxing, when I was training, it was on my heart. I said, man, I have to get this out to you. So I want you to dial in. Like, I want you to be serious. Like, I don't want you just to like this and then go on about your life. I want you to do something to make a change. Okay, it's time for you to cut the weight in your life. Whatever that means to you. For some of you, it's physical weight that you have that you know you don't need anymore. For some of you, it's a spiritual weight. For some of you, it's a mental weight. Maybe it's the weight of your past. Maybe it's the weight of your worries. Maybe it's the weight of people. You're carrying all this baggage. You ever try to carry a whole bunch of baggage through the airport? It's a lot harder to get to your destination, to your gate, right? Sometimes you got to check that baggage in. Sometimes you got to let go of that baggage. For you guys that climb mountains, you know what I'm talking about. You always know I'm climbing mountains all the time. It's a lot harder to climb a mountain with a whole bunch of weight on you. When you drop that weight, it becomes a lot easier. So I want you to make a decision right now, not tomorrow, not next week, right now, to cut the weight in your life, whatever that means to you. All right, and the first thing you can do is to make up your mind. Make up your mind. I mean, that's one of the most powerful things that you can do. There's nothing more powerful to me than a made up mind, because nothing can stop a made up mind. When I came into this gym today, I made up in my mind, even though I was tired, even though I got hit, even though I wanted to quit, I made up in my mind that I was going to finish my workout. With rehab time at a point, I made up in my mind that I was going to take my life to where it needed to go so I can inspire others. You see, some of us, we haven't made up in our mind. We still in the same situation, the same place, letting people come in and out of our life as they please. We entertain opinions. We live in a certain lifestyle. Like, we 1 foot in and 1 foot out. It's time for you to stop being on the fence and make up in your mind that you're going to cut the weight in your life. The second thing I want you to do is take the first step. There's no journey. Understand, there's no journey without a first step. Stop thinking about, the whole process of how you have to get there. Because sometimes that can be intimidating. You think about all the weight you got to drop. You think about all the friends you're going to lose. You think about everything that's going to change in your life. You think about the season of loneliness and you just stay there. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, taking the first step is uncomfortable. But as you know, outside your comfort zone is where change takes place. Taking the first step is very uncomfortable because things around your life change. You're walking into a new arena. You're walking into a new environment. You're walking into something new. But understand this, you have to leave the things behind in order to become something new. So take the first step, whatever it is. Maybe it's you going to work out. Maybe it's you picking up a book. Maybe it's you getting a mentor. Maybe it's you walking away from that relationship. Maybe it's you building better relationships. But you'll never get to your destination without the first step. The most important step in your journey is that first step, all right? So number 2, take the first step. Number 3, okay? Never be afraid to fail. You're gonna fall down. Today I got hit in the face. Today I almost quit on the round. Today my hands came down when I was boxing, which is a big no-no. I failed so many times in my journey, but the failure taught me how to be successful. The failure taught me how to be hungry. Like, if it wasn't for the losses, winning wouldn't feel so special. Think about this. The reason people celebrate championships, you see it in the NBA, you see it in the NFL, you see it in a Major League Baseball, you see it popping champagne. They're not celebrating that win. What they celebrating is the off season. What they celebrating is the training camp. What they celebrating is the blood, sweat, and tears. What they celebrating is beating the odds. What they celebrating is people that counted them out. What they celebrating is overcoming their doubt. What they celebrating is overcoming their fears. And so when you go through all that, it's called a season. See, a lot of us, we just expect to get to the championship without going through our season. That's impossible. You got to go through your season of loneliness. You got to go through your season of pain. You got to go through your season of learning. You got to go through your season of setbacks. You got to go through all of that to become the best you. Fail often, okay? I'm not saying just fail on purpose, but fail often. Give your best in everything you do. And sometimes your best isn't enough. But guess what? You can keep coming back, getting stronger, getting better. And guess what? Your best will finally be enough. All right? Number 4 is you gotta stay focused. I'm talking about like super focused. I'm talking about putting blinders on. You see them horses in the street? They can't look to the side. They ain't worried about what's going on around them. They right here. They're focused on moving forward. A lot of us, we trying to move forward, but we entertaining this opinion. We entertaining this drama. We entertaining this gossip. Like, you gotta be like, understanding sports, even in boxing. Like, you got somebody in your corner, your coach, right, that's supposed to be on your side, which you probably have people in your corner that hopefully is on your team, but you ain't worrying about what the fans say. You ain't worrying about what's going outside the ropes. Because if you're worrying about what's going outside the ropes, I promise you, you're probably gonna lose inside the ropes. In football, you know, I was a former football player. You got people in the stands that's talking crazy. You got people in the stands that's telling you what you should be doing, what you're doing wrong. You got people in the stands that think that they better than you. All these fans that are screaming certain things, all right? And some fans mean well, but some fans don't. But in football and any type of sport, it matters what happens in between the lines. You ain't worried about what they saying out there. And in your life, it's the same thing. Stop worrying about what people are doing that's not in your game of life. Stop worrying about what people are saying that's outside of your ropes. Stop worrying about what people are talking about that's outside of the lines, all right? Stay focused, stay focused, stay focused. Number 5, remind yourself of why you had to drop the weight. Be consistent with that every single day, because doubt is going to creep up, right? Just the everyday life is going to creep up. That magnet, right, that was holding you captive, that magnet that was so strong, that magnet that was so powerful, that kept your life in that same place is going to pop back up. Whatever that magnet is, maybe it's a person, maybe it's your past, maybe it's an addiction. Remind yourself of why you're cutting away. Remind yourself of why you're moving forward every single chance that you get. Remind yourself of why you have to be the best you. Remind yourself of why you cannot move back. Remind yourself of why you cannot go back to that person that you used to be. All right? But like I tell you, at the end of every single video, it all starts with you. This is your life. This is your life. And it's not going to be perfect. Stop reaching for perfection. Stop expecting to live perfection. It's not. But it needs to be progressive. Okay? Fall in love with progression every single chance that you get. You keep rising above. You keep conquering your struggle, creating new peaks. And you keep taking your life to the next level. It's rehab time. Let's get it.
As you know my story, I met someone when I was 25 years old. His name was Earl Schoaf, who dropped into my life at an extraordinary time. So key phrase, timing has a lot to do with it, and who knows, part of the mystery of time, the timing. Part of the timing one I just had that experience that I've shared in other seminars when the Girl Scout knocked on my door. And I walked to the door, and she gives me the big pitch on the Girl Scout cookies, best organization in the world for girls. Got several flavors, time to buy the cookies, only $2. And with a big smile, she very politely asked me to buy. No problem, I wanted to buy. Big problem, I didn't have $2 in my pocket. And I didn't want to tell her that. So I did what I thought was next best. I lied to her. And I said, hey, look, I've already bought plenty of Girl Scout cookies. We've still got plenty in the house we haven't eaten yet. She said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. And she leaves. When she leaves, I say to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. I mean, how low can you get lying to a Girl Scout? That's low down. I told myself that day, this will never happen to me. One of those experiences. It's called like life-changing. I said, I'm going to search till I find better opportunities so my pocket won't be empty and the bank account won't be empty, and I won't be so far behind on my promises to my family. And it was shortly after that I meet Earl Schoaf, who taught me how to be wealthy, who taught me how to change my life. So who knows what the connection is, right? Someone says when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You know, I don't know all the mystery of that. But anyway, it seems like Some of those things uniquely happen. But it was Mr. Schoaf over a 5-year period before he died at age 49 who taught me some extraordinarily simple things. He only went to the 9th grade in school, never finished high school, never went to college, never went to university. So he put his ideas and his experiences in very simple language, which I think for me, you know, a kid from the farms of Idaho, that simplicity was so important. Because if it would have been technical, I'd have missed it. If it would have been mystic, I would have, backed away. But it was just basic, blunt, ABC, familiar stuff that I hadn't thought of before. And he did start to remind me, and those ideas changed my life. Mr. Schoaf was the one when I said, this is all they pay. He said, you've been working 6 years, Mr. Owen, how come you're not doing better? And I said, this is all the company pays. He says, well, that's not true. I said, no, this is my paycheck. This is all the company pays. He said, no, this is all the company pays you. I thought, that's a new way to look at it, right? He said, doesn't the company pay 2, 3, 4, 5 times this amount to other people? And I said, well, yes. He said, well, then this is not all the company pays. It's all they pay you. And if you qualified, wouldn't your income grow 2, 3, 4, 5 times? I said, I suppose. So he said, we don't have to work on the company. We have to work on you. See, that was the beginning of what he called the phrase personal development. I told him things cost too much. He said, no, you can't afford them. I thought, well, that's a new concept. I hadn't thought about that. We put some of the valuable things on the high shelf, so you can't get to them until you qualify. If you want the things on the higher shelf, you got to stand on the books you read. Every book you read, you get to stand a little higher so you can get the things on the higher shelf. See, I learned those concepts. It was so incredible. And here was the most important one. Success is something you attract by the person you become. See, that phrase changed my life. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Success is not something you pursue. It's like chasing a butterfly. You can't quite catch it. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. See, those were new concepts to me. I'm just working hard trying to make a living. Here's what he said to me. This changed my life. I got a chance to teach this in Moscow and across Russia. 3 visits, now the 4th. Here's what Schoaf taught me. Profits are better than wages. Nobody taught me that in high school. Nobody taught me that. I went to 1 year of college. Nobody taught me. Profits are better than wages. Wages make you a living. Profits make you a fortune. And how could you work on both a living and a fortune? He said, well, you could start part-time working on your fortune while you're working full-time on your living. I thought, wow. Now, he said, it's fun to get up in the morning. Not just getting up, go to work to pay the rent, but to get up to go to work to make a fortune. First, to make a living for my family. Second, to make a fortune. And he taught me how to make both a living and a fortune. Guess what I did? I learned how to make both a living and a fortune. And I found out anybody could do it once they get the information. And at age 25, I started receiving this extraordinary information. Here's what he said. Your income is directly related to your philosophy, not to the economy. I thought, no one ever told me that. I kept hoping the economy would change. He said, no, your philosophy has to change. I assured him that I had my fingers crossed. He said, that won't help. Then what could I do to change my income and multiply it by 2, by 3, by 5, by 10, and then multiply it by 10 again? What could I do? And he started giving me the disciplines and the process of learning the skills to change my life. This was an extraordinary man. Those were extraordinary times for me. Life-changing in every manner that you can imagine. But very simple ABC concepts. Here's what I learned. Not to search for the exotic until you've discovered the basic. And those basic philosophies that he shared with me during that time were life-changing.